Creepers left to rise, buzz like crazy. Everybody's trying to stimulate it. Spiders in the mirror and feel this can't be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night, to a blessed collision still frozen tight. Spear drinkers, Cupid and the sound of her first chime. And why did you argue? We're dreaming of those eyes, the best part of my life. And when we make love, babe.
Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Hello from Cosmo and myself. Birthday boy recently turned 2. And yeah, this is my new mug from Hello Lovely Box. Isn't it adorable? I love it so much. I am a rep for them. If you would like to get some Romance Reader merch, my code is CrystalsBookersLife15 and the link is down below. So, I'm just starting a vlog. Today is actually Thursday, so I usually start vlogs on Monday so I can have the whole week to read and have stuff to vlog about, but I am working on a different vlog, so I did that earlier, and now I thought I need a vlog for Monday, so here we are. Because if you didn't know, I post vlogs every Monday is what I like to do. That's sort of my thing. I love doing that. I edit them all on Sunday, and I don't know, I just love vlogging, and I know that several of you have said that you look forward to my Monday vlogs, so we're going to keep doing it. So anyways, we're starting a new vlog today. A vlog that has literally zero planning into it. I thought that it would be fun to go through my shelves and, not all of them, just pick out a book that I want to read now, because I would really like to read more of the books that are on my shelves. Some of them have been there for a really long time. Now the thing is though, that I have to have access to the audiobook too, because Thursday is today, and I am busy packing and shipping orders, and I am also designing a new creature to be released for tomorrow. I have a launch once a month on my website. I make clay sculpture animals, and that day is tomorrow, and so I usually don't wait until the last day, but I was trying to get orders all filled up, and also I've been designing it in my mind, and now I just need to put it to clay. So the biggest part of designing a new creature for me is really the design aspect of it. Like putting the clay together, that's easy, that doesn't take much time, but it's thinking about how I want this animal to look in my style, what shortcuts I'm going to want to make, like shorthand, you know, to make it like an illustrated, cute animal. So the thinking of the design, the trying to figure out what animal to make, and then condensing all of that information, because I don't make realistic sculptures, I make illustrated cartoon style sculptures. So condensing all that information is really what takes a lot of time. So I know in my head how it's got to work. Now I just need to get my hands to cooperate. So that being said, I don't have time to physically read. I am literally working from the time I get up until late at night. Like last night I worked until 9. I try to stop at 9, but I may work longer. Just, I've got so many orders I need to get done. Anyway, I'm a little stressed if you can't tell about that. I haven't really talked about this lately because I don't think I was vlogging when I did the last creature launch, and I haven't released a new creature. I've done like other variations of things that I've already made, but I haven't designed a completely new creature other than the one in January. I think the last time I designed one was September. So that's what's happening this year. So let's talk about what books. So I've got to find books that I want to read, and I've also got to find books that I have available to me on audio. Now I have a variety of audiobook listening platforms. I do have Audible. I've been a member of Audible for years, and I have 1 credit, but I would prefer to use, like, I have Scribd too, so I have at least 1 book available to me on Scribd. They haven't cut me off yet. And I also have several libraries that I can look on Hoopla and Libby. So if you are also looking for audiobooks and you don't want to spend a lot of money, definitely check out a library, like get a library card. because you can download Libby and Hoopla, if you didn't know, those apps, and you can have access to so many audiobooks and ebooks. Now, it depends on what your library has. I live in an area where there is not a lot of indie romance on Libby, unfortunately. They do have quite a lot of historical, though, so that's good. So let's go through my shelves. I will be behind the camera from now on, and we're going to pick a couple of books that I think I want to read. I just finished reading a bunch of historical, so I think I want to go with something that's not a historical first. So let's see what we can find. Okay, so I think I want to pick something from this shelf. This has a lot of some indie romance, some fantasy romance. So I have some Mafia. I know this is on Scribd. Maybe I'll go with that. Probably not going to find the audio for this. This one is actually really hard to find, and when you find it, it's, excuse you, sir. It's pretty expensive. I do have the audio for this one. That's one I could listen to. I've already read that. This doesn't have an audio. I'm not that far into the series yet. I could find some Brittany C. Cherry. This I think I've seen on Scribd too. Already listened to this. Okay, I think what I want to do is this one. I've been really in the mood for contemporary, and I think this sounds adorable, and a lot of my friends really, really loved it. Kelly loved this, and I know Izzy loved this, and Dana loved it. So this is the one we're going to go to. I know this is on Scribd, so I'm so excited. I think if you don't know what this is about, I think it's basically she is a fan of a big show that's kind of like Game of Thrones-esque, and she posts a picture on Twitter of her cosplayed like one of the characters. She's a plus-size heroine, and she ends up getting kind of a lot of hate, and the love interest is the star of the show, who sees that she's getting hate and then reaches out to her, and I think there's also a fan fiction element to it. Anyway, this is what we're going to do. We're going to find it, and we're going to read it, and I will update you once that happens. Hello friends, just have a quick update. It is the next day. Today is Friday. I listened to, spoiler alert, pretty much all day. Yesterday while I was working, I was going to update you, but I didn't for a couple of reasons. One of them was just because I was so busy trying to get a bunch of packages packed and shipped, and I designed a new creature, which I think I put some footage in here of that, my badger. And I was getting my website ready and all that good stuff, getting ready for the launch today. So I honestly, I worked until 10 o'clock last night. That's sort of where I'm at now, is I just am working all day long. Anyway, that was one reason why I didn't update you. Another reason is because I'm really trying to think about what I want to say about this book, because while I do really enjoy certain aspects of this, it's also not, I can tell it's not going to be a 5-star read. I would be surprised if it was a 5-star read. Oh, my battery. I'll be right back. Hold on. Oh, I am back. Okay, so I don't think this will be a 5-star read for me. And I am really enjoying a lot of it, but there's also some things that are bothering me about it. So basically we have Marcus, who is the star of this very popular Game of Thrones-esque type of show. There were also books. It has this huge fan community. He's the star of the show. He's basically this physical specimen of perfection. He has a lot of internal issues and things that he's struggling with, and he definitely has this persona that he presents when he's around people that is the stereotypical airhead, beautiful person, And he's not that at all. He's very tender. He's very sweet. He is, without a doubt, a cinnamon roll hero. He's honestly just a great hero. He's very much in love with the heroine Olivia, who, not Olivia, Olivia Dade, with the heroine April, right? Oh my gosh. With the heroine April, who is the plus size heroine, and they met because they are both, like, they both write fan fiction for this show, and Marcus does it, like, on the down low, like, nobody knows that it's him, and all this other stuff, because it would be a big issue with his job. And so they meet on this fandom site where they're both fan fiction writers, and they develop a really big friendship. So Olivia ends up, she creates a costume for one of the characters of the show, and she decides in a moment of what she considers bravery to post it online because she is tired of really getting hate for being plus size, and she's feeling really good about herself, and so she posts it out there and puts it online. She starts to get some hate from that, and some trolls, definitely, and Marcus decides to contact her and ask her out to sort of spite the hate that she is getting. And he quickly just completely falls for her, and she's very, very guarded with him. Like it's a little heartbreaking to watch her as she's really struggling with, does he really like me, or what is happening here? You know, like she's convinced it's just a publicity stunt, and that he can't really be as kind as, or as interested in her as he appears to be. She also sees through his facade pretty quickly of how he desires to present himself around people and how he keeps that inner part of him hidden. They have a really great connection, and they end up having a really good relationship, and it's really sweet and beautiful. And I particularly love how Marcus just adores and desires her completely. All of her body, all of her, what she considers to be flaws, he loves and thinks that she is this luscious goddess and is just beautiful, and he is turned on by her, and it's beautiful to watch and to read about how he feels and sees her as so beautiful and so sexy and so desirable. So I really, really, really love that. I definitely feel there was one scene in here in particular where, you know, April is really dealing with a lot of trauma. Not trauma, I don't know if that's the right word. She's really dealing with a lot of, she's got a lot of issues in how she has been fat shamed for her whole life. In particular, her mother. There are a few scenes here that talk about how her mother, just comments she would make about her body and about her weight and what she should or shouldn't eat, and it just is gutting to read. Like, I would definitely say this book, if you are sensitive to body dysmorphia, if you really struggle with anything like that, I would say this book could probably be very triggering, because there are a lot of scenes in here that really talk about how that feels when someone that you love and care about talks about your body and what they think you should do with it. And April has really had a lot of experiences where people have tried to get her to exercise and get her to eat better and try to police her food choices, and especially she has issues with men who have asked her. Cosmos got his food bowl on the tile. Sorry. Where she's been in relationships with men, or she's dated men, and they have tried to get her to work out with them, and they've posed it as like a date type of thing, you know? And so she's very wary of that, and she's very sensitive to that, and she does not want at all to be, not necessarily forced, but to have anyone sort of like trick her into working out or eating right. Like, she's very self-conscious. She's very aware of people making any kind of commentary on what she eats or what she does or what she doesn't do as far as exercise and things like that. And I feel like that's very relatable if you have ever, been overweight and you've had family who have felt like they need to intervene on your behalf. I feel like that is very relatable. It's also really hard to read about. It's pretty heartbreaking, I think. There was a particular scene in here where, in the beginning of their relationship, where Marcus asks her, or they start to make plans to get together for the next day. And, he is very fit. He is really extremely physically fit for this role that he is playing. He's an actor. And so every day he trains, and that's what I call working out. I don't this is going to get a little bit personal. You're going to get my personal feelings on this because I did not like this scene, although I understand the point of view. There was one thing that I didn't like about it. So they talk about getting together and having a date, and he says, well, the only thing that I really need to do is, you know, like he needed to go work out and then get breakfast at the hotel. And he very casually, with no ulterior motive, says, would you like to go with me? Because in his mind, he's thinking, this is something I have to do. I would love it if you came with me. And she immediately takes that as, oh, he's trying to get me to exercise and lose weight, and he's not happy with my body the way that it is, and he's not happy with how I look. And so she gets very, very offended, and you can tell, like I can understand her point of view from that too, because as she has had people do that to her repeatedly, I think that it was pretty natural for her to sort of jump to that conclusion and to be sensitive about that. So I'm not angry with that at all, although I wish that they would have communicated a little bit right there. So she ends up just closing down and saying, no, I can't meet tomorrow, never mind. And she doesn't tell him why or anything like that. They end up talking about it later. And her internal dialogue is really sort of what bothered me. Because when they're talking about Marcus's exercise routine and the way that he eats, like, I think the thing that really set her off was she said, well, like, she's testing him, and she says, well, what would I eat at the hotel? And he's like, well, I usually get boiled eggs and oats. And she's like, oh, well, you're trying to put me on a diet, you know? He didn't say this is what you should have. He said this is what I usually get. And I did not love the tone of that being basically that it feels like this whole tone of this book is very, I would say it's very fat positive, which I think is a beautiful thing to see. But on the contrast of that, I feel like it's definitely fit shaming. And I really, really, really don't like that. I feel like I don't understand why it has to be, let's have fat positivity and body positivity. So in order to present that, we're going to have this alternate point of view, which is shaming people or assuming things about people because of the exercise and the nutrition that they do. And I will be the first one to say that there are definitely douchebags out there who will think that about other people and who will try to, you know, they're going to fat shame people, and they are going to act like they're superior because of their workouts and nutrition. And I think that that is stupid and that is wrong. But I really, really don't like that is sort of juxtaposed as an alternate point of view. So it's like either, you know, you can be fat positive and you can be body positive and you can shame, or not shame, or you can really look down on and think that people are, you know, very self-centered, very narcissistic for working out and eating right. And I will be the first one to tell you that I have been seriously into fitness my whole life, but for the last 6 years, I have devoted a great amount of time to training and to my nutrition. And there are certain foods that I will not eat because I know that that is going to have a negative impact on my training for the next day or for later. And it's not that I think that they're bad foods, and it's not that I think that other people shouldn't eat them. It is because that is what I know I will eat and that I won't eat. And there are definitely been times in my life where I have been very nervous about talking to people about how I eat and how I work out, because I thought they may react exactly like she did. Marcus wasn't saying she should work out and she should eat like this. He was literally saying, this is what I am going to do. So and that concern, that conflict, that was never resolved in a positive way for Marcus needing to work out and eat, other than, like she says, his body was his tool for his work as an actor. And she also says, and he was a tool. And I really, really didn't like that, because it's not even so much that I like the specific words that are used so much as I really dislike the tone of, you know, devoting time to fitness and nutrition makes you a tool, and it makes you like, I don't really know that I'm articulating this very well, but I don't like the tone of it being that is all that exercise is for, is to make your body look a certain way. I feel like I've talked about that a lot. If you've watched any of my vlogs, and especially if you follow me on Instagram, I talk about this pretty often, that I do not like or approve of the tone being that, you know, trying to be active, trying to be fit, or to work on fitness, or to work on your nutrition. I don't like the idea that that has to lead towards looking a certain way and that is the only goal. Because for me and for other athletes that I know, that is absolutely not it. That's not why we do this. That's not why we eat the way that we do, or that we train the way that we do. I'm getting off track on this, but I will definitely say that if that had been an isolated incident in here, where it was just that one case where she was reacting to what he said, you know, because of how she had been hurt and how she had been treated by others, I feel like it's a very reasonable reaction for her to have. But there was no resolution for any positivity about how he worked out or how he trained, you know? So, or how he ate. So I feel like this is definitely something that I think is probably unique to me in my perspective. And not that other people can't have this perspective, but this is my reading experience of it. So while I do really I love their relationship. I especially love Marcus. He is so loving and sweet with her. April is she's a little bit difficult for me to really love, and maybe a lot of it is because of her attitude towards Marcus's workouts and stuff like that. But I think a large part of it is she does project a lot of confidence and a lot of, you know, body positivity. Like, she said that she's comfortable with her body, she loves her body, but she's also very, very quick to jump to conclusions when anyone makes any type of a comment about food or nutrition. And I definitely, food or nutrition or exercise, and I feel like that is very relatable, because I know that, you know, like I've had times in my life where I was overweight and I had family who would make those comments to me, and so I get her feeling like, are they talking about what I'm eating? You know, are they trying to get me to want to eat something differently? So I don't know. So that's just making me really wonder, like, I'm this far into it, and I can't say that I love it, and I feel really bad about that. I will also say that it definitely feels like there is a part of this book that feels like it's heavy-handed with the message that it's trying to get across. You know what I mean? I feel like that is taking there's a lot of commentary on fandom and fan culture and their personal issues, and, you know, the whole, and it just seems like the story itself is sort of getting lost. So I don't know. I didn't mean to be so negative. I was really trying to explain my thoughts on this. I don't know. I guess I will wait and give you my final thoughts when I'm done with this. This is a very long clip, but I have a lot of feelings about this, and I have a lot of thoughts. And while I think that this is really a beautiful representation of a man who just absolutely loves her for who she is, which I always am here for, you know, like, I love to see a hero who loves his partner or his woman for who she is and has no desire to change her. And that is Marcus 100%. I love that so much. I love how he loves her for how she is and how he finds her attractive for how she is right this minute. So it's really good, but I think it may be a miss for me. I don't know. And by miss, I mean, it's not bad, so I'm not going to rate it below a 3-star, but okay. That was a very long talk. I have to get to work, and then I will keep listening to this, and I'll update you when I'm done.
You know, round this long night we'll going to stretch his arms on the road, turn as he can with his shrill call into perfect strangers in disguise. But until then, forget that crazy world. Yeah, until then, no need to say a word. We'll do our best to keep the sunlight from melting down the night, plucking this fruit that's finally.
Hello, friends. Well, I finished Spoiler Alert, and this is... I'm on my opposite side of my studio. Kazi's right underneath me. He likes to sleep under there. As I'm working on my website and getting all of my orders organized, and I wanted to update you on this because I just barely finished listening to it. And I decided to give this a 3-star review. I feel very conflicted about this because I feel like there were so many things in here that were good and that I really loved. Like, Marcus is honestly a perfect cinnamon roll hero. Like, he is so sweet and so precious, and he truly, like, the thing that I love, like I said before, he loved her exactly how she was. He didn't want her to change. He just loved her, and I loved that so much. I thought that was so great, honestly. I just really, really liked that. I also really liked April. I felt like, you know, I think I said in the last one that I kind of had a hard time with her, but the more that I read, like, I feel like the last little bit that I had to read, she had a few run-ins with her parents, and she really stood up for herself because her mom was constantly on her case about should you be eating that and maybe choose the lower calorie one, and suggesting like exercise. And finally April says to her, if you talk to me about my body one more time, like, and I thought that was fantastic because that can be such a hard thing, especially when you have family members, and I don't care if they mean well. I honestly don't. I feel like you need to stop suggesting how a family member changes their body. Like, I just can't stand that so much. So I was so glad that she did that. You know, I really loved what a strong heroine that she was, and she did have a lot of vulnerability about her weight, and she was very easily, like, triggered, I guess, when situations would pop up. She automatically, like, assumed that's what they were thinking, and I completely understand why she did that. That in particularly ended up causing some problems in her relationship with Marcus, but I loved them as a couple. I felt like they were just beautiful, but I didn't particularly like the conflict at the last third. I felt like I felt like it was a little bit, I felt like there wasn't subtlety to the plot device that happened. It seemed like it was very clear this was a plot device so that this would happen. I'm trying to not spoil it here. And I didn't love that. I really loved the little chat between both of their fanfiction writers. Like, it would go back in the past and it would show their chat. I loved that. I thought that was fun and sweet, and it was great. I didn't necessarily love the fanfiction writing that was in here. I kind of tuned out when that happened, and I did the same thing when I read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I don't feel like okay, now we're gonna talk about the things that I didn't like about this. So, I mean, we're already talking about that, but one of the main things that I really didn't like about, and I talked at length earlier, was the constant sort of like side-eye bashing people who, you know, either lift weights or are very into fitness, like specifically the men in here, like Marcus and his friend. There were several comments in here about how, like, just really sarcastic comments about their fitness and going to work out and watching their nutrition, and I really honestly am so freaking tired of that. I I feel like that is an attitude that is popping up often in romance novels specifically, and I feel like it's almost always geared towards the men. And I really can't stand that. I'm getting very tired of that, and I feel like the next time I read a book that does that, it's probably going to get a 1-star review, and I'm going to rant about it because it needs to freaking stop. Because it's just... It's... I don't even really know how to... I just really hate that. I hate that that is saying that about men, because let me tell you a little bit about a friend that I met at the gym a few years ago. A few years ago, I was going to the gym, like I always do, and except for because of COVID, now I have a garage gym. And I was going with my son, who was 17 at the time, and we would go together every day, and it was during the summer, and so we would go like mid-morning, and I would see a man there who looked like he was like late 20s-ish or whatever, and he had on like one of those really skinny tank tops, you know, and he was constantly posing in the mirrors. And my first reaction was, oh, come on, dude, you know, that's my first reaction. So, which was jerky of me, I shouldn't have been acting like that. And then this man started becoming friends with my son. He would talk to him, he would always support him, he was always encouraging him. He was just this big source of positivity in my son's life. He was just like a one-person cheerleader, and you could tell that he was finding someone who was young at the gym, and it was and he felt it was his responsibility to make them feel welcome, to make them feel important, and to make them feel like they were doing a great job. Now, once I saw that happen, my attitude really changed, and I started to feel bad about how I had initially judged him. Then, as time went on, and we were at the gym often, we would occasionally be doing cardio on machines right next to one another, and so we would sometimes talk. And after a while, he told me his story of how he got into weightlifting, and specifically bodybuilding. And it was really something that had saved his life. He was a drug addict and was really endangering his life and was in a really bad place. And I'm not entirely sure how, I'm sure it didn't happen overnight, but changing his focus not changing his focus, but getting out of being an addict, the thing that saved him was going to the gym and lifting and the sport of bodybuilding. And that changed my perspective so much on how I see a lot of men at the gym. Because I think that is the problem that I have with the stereotype. It's that they're always talking about, you know, like I've read a couple of books recently. I ranted about another one in Vlogmas in December who talks about, you know, this guy has washboard abs and oh, the disdain. I can't believe he spends so many hours a day working out to look like that. And I feel like it's such an oversimplified generalization that is hurtful, and I hate it. And it's not taking into account this person's story and why they are actually at the gym. Because I am going to bet you that probably 80% of the time, the people that you see that look like that, they are doing this for reasons that are stronger than how they look. I'm going to guarantee you that fact, okay? And I really, really feel like a book that was built around body positivity and body acceptance and really accepting yourself for who you are and being positive about your body, it just felt like such a harsh, unnecessary dichotomy to contrast that with so much hatred towards some people who are into fitness. Now, I want to be very clear here in that I recognize that the body positivity here is specifically for fat positivity, and I think that is amazing, and I loved seeing that in here. But I really wish that it had not included the hate and the side-eye towards people who enjoy working out or do work out and do watch what they eat, because I feel like that just freaking needs to stop. I hate it. I hate it so badly. It comes up all the time. It feels like we cannot have a romance novel where it's either glorifying men's abs and talking about how great their abs are and how built they are. Like, I'm tired of that too, okay? But then on the other hand, we have that, and then we have this bashing of people who work out. And so I'm like, why does it have to be one or the other? I don't know. So that really bothered me a lot. And it was, I don't know that I feel like you probably wouldn't pick that up if you weren't sensitive to that like I am, okay? Because I can tell you right now, this second, that just as she received really comments about don't eat that, maybe you should work out from her mother, the main character April, I have received those exact same comments from my father about, no, don't get any more muscle, and are you sure you should go to the gym? Like, maybe you don't want to get too big, don't eat too much protein, and I hate it. I hate it so bad. And I feel like it's not okay to do one or the other. So here I have spent quite a long time talking about that. This is a big personal issue, and I feel like this is something that definitely needs to stop happening in here, because it doesn't do anyone any good to sit there and degrade someone for something that they like to do, or to write it off as something that is purely for aesthetic results, because it just isn't. It's just not, okay? I've talked quite a lot about my journey in fitness and nutrition. I have a lot of that on my 1K Q&A video. And it's very much not a thing about how I look. And I would say that for most people who are serious athletes, it's not about how they look at all. And I just wish that hadn't been in there, because honestly, that really ruined any body positivity that I felt out of this for me. So 3 stars. It wasn't a bad book. I did enjoy the writing style. I will say I'm pretty wary about picking up another Olivia Dade, which is unfortunate because I really think that she's a cool person, but I just don't F with that. I just don't. Needs to quit. So, alright. Now what am I going to listen to next? Let's pick another book, okay? I'm going to take you with me on my shelf. We're going to pick another book. Alright, so I just saw my library. This is my TBR cart, by the way, although I have read all of those. And I think that's all that I've read on here. So I just saw from my library that my audiobook hold for this came in, so I'm gonna listen to this now. This is the first book in this series. I've read the third. It's a historical romance. I love Elizabeth Hoyt. I'm excited. So this is the one I'm gonna pick up next. Hello, my friends. Hello, Kazi. Hello. Welcome back. So it is Saturday today. I want to have this vlog up by Monday, and so, excuse you, sir. I don't need to be scratched. So I have, oh my gosh, doggo. Okay, ready? Say, look how cute I am, and you're such a cute boy, huh? Okay, I have to get down now. Thank you. So, reading update. Also, I just dyed my hair today. My roots are gone. Oh my gosh. I can't even tell you how much better I feel. Don't mind him. He's just having a zoomie over there. Making the room shake. So, I always feel like such a... I don't know why, it's just completely, but when my roots get to a certain point of growth, I'm just like, ugh, like I just hate the way that it makes me feel. So now, fresh hair. It's the best thing ever. So, let me give you a reading update. We're reading To Taste Temptation by Elizabeth Hoyt. So this is the first book in The Legend of the Four Soldiers. This is one of her series that I really, really love. I actually have only read the third book in this, so this is the first one. The second one is, I think is it To Seduce a Sinner? Yeah, the second one is To Seduce a Sinner, and the third one is To Beguile a Beast, which is one of my favorites of Elizabeth Hoyt's. I love that book so much. It's super good. So all of these books follow like soldiers who fought in America in the war over there, and a lot of the plot has to do with them sort of recovering from the trauma that they experienced over there in wartime and having to live a life of peace, and I feel like that's a pretty common theme. This one is pretty unique because the hero in here is actually American. He lived in Boston, and so he has, like, I'm listening to the audiobook because I have the audio from Liddy from my library, and he has an American accent, which is just kind of weird to hear when you're listening to a historical, so it's kind of fun too. So the way that the couple meets and how they get connected is that Lady Emmeline is the heroine, and she is a widow. She has a young son she is asked to teach the hero's sister. So his sister is ready to be presented in society, and she's going to a ball. So he asks Emmeline to help her to learn how to do that. So that's sort of what the basic plot is surrounded, but like all that I have read of Elizabeth Hoyt's, there's so many different levels to what's going on with both characters. Like Emmeline, Lady Emmeline is dealing with a lot of things that she's sort of suppressing about the death of her husband and trying to raise her son. So her son is also featured in here. That's another thing that Elizabeth Hoyt does pretty often, and so we get to see the hero interact with her son, and that's really, really fun and very sweet. And the hero Samuel is really dealing with like the post-traumatic stress of war. There's a scene in here where they go to a ball and he smells just the scent of a lot of men in one room sweating, and it just immediately transports him back to being in the war, and he just becomes like immobile and almost physically sick, and Emmeline helps him leave the room, and that's a really powerful and beautiful scene, and I really love it. I feel like this is just such a really clever written book. I feel like Elizabeth Hoyt does really well at just blending all of those different threads together to present just a really convincing and immersive story that you just want to get swept away in and just can't stop reading. So I am chapter 10. I'm about halfway through. I will say there are definitely some parts of this book that are slower than I have read from her before. Like the plot definitely seems like there's a lot of talk about, not a lot, but more than I personally would like, a lot of talk about the war and him and his friends, because he meets some of his friends who he was in the war with. He's still trying to uncover the plot of what happened at that massacre where his one friend was specifically killed, and so anyway, there's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of connections that you have to kind of figure out and put the pieces together, but the biggest thing overall is just that the hero and the heroine, they have such an just an intense attraction towards one another, this big chemistry, and specifically, this is so interesting because he is a hero who wants to marry for love, and he's really trying to make that part of his life, and I just felt like that's so refreshing because it's just so neat to hear that point of view from the hero who wants to marry for love and doesn't just want to marry because of the dowry or because of the title or because it's a good political match. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's American, and so that's what he is, marrying for convenience isn't really a thing that he wants to do. So I really love that. And he's very much drawn to Emmeline, and they have a lot of push and pull moments, and it's just really fun. Like, I love Elizabeth Hoyt. If you haven't read her, you just have to. I am glad that I started with To Beguile a Beast, because this one is definitely a little bit slower. It's still really good, and the audiobook is obviously helping me get through it a lot, and I'm just really enjoying it, so yeah. I'm super happy I'm reading this. So, that is a very long update. We have our live show tonight with Jen from the Book Refuge, talking about Sarah MacLean's books, and then tomorrow Sarah MacLean is going to be on the show talking with us, and I'm kind of freaking out. It'll be so fun though. So that's all that's happening. I will keep reading and check in with you. Probably when I finish that is when I'll give you my next update, because I already have read half of it. See y'all in a bit. Alright friends, I finished To Taste Temptation by Elizabeth Hoyt. I just barely finished it. And I was honestly pretty disappointed with this. What a reading vlog, huh? I had such high expectations for both of these books. I really felt like I would love these because I love Elizabeth Hoyt. This is by far my most disappointing Elizabeth Hoyt book that I have ever read. It was going really well until it got to about 60% of the way in, and then it just was they really, one thing I really like about Elizabeth Hoyt is how she builds up the tension and the chemistry and the relationship before just jumping straight to intimacy, and I feel like that she skipped over that in this book and just went right there, and it just didn't really hit for me because it just felt like they were definitely, fighting feelings and everything because it wasn't to be done. Like the heroine, Lady Emmeline, she was convinced that Samuel was not for her, and so she mentioned over and over again how he was an American and she would never ever consider him for marriage, and how beneath her that he was, and so And then when they declared, or when they realized that they loved this person, it was literally like there was nothing that really led up to it. It was one of those things where it was like a magical physical or relationship, and it was that made them think it was love, and I just really, really hate that. I don't like that at all. I feel like it just seemed like, I left my bookmark in here, like he was convinced that when he realized he loved her, he was just like, just obsessed with her physically, and that was his reason for loving her. I also feel like this really it was kind of all over the place. Like, the plot was very much focused on the war that he had been in, and it felt like, I mean, so this is the beginning of this series, and it all deals with these soldiers who were in this war, and so they're all sort of dealing with the trauma of being in war, but that was so heavily in here, and it was such a big point of the plot, and it took so much time that it really drew away from any of the romance, and I just didn't believe that they loved each other. And in fact, the heroine, when she finally admitted to herself that she loved him, it was so close to the end that I was just like, do you though? Like, I don't know. It just, and the way that they, like, the way that they were just constantly, I don't know. It felt very, like, this is not going to make any sense. So it sort of gave me very, like, dark romancy vibes, in that this was a very dysfunctional relationship, and it was honestly a little bit toxic. But it wasn't in a satisfying way. It felt like the issues that they were dealing with, like, they just never really got resolved. They never really admitted them. They never really worked through them. And it felt very surface level. I think that's my biggest complaint, is that I felt like it had the potential to really dive into these emotional issues and emotional reactions and really figure out this relationship between these two unlikely characters. I know, I'm sorry. My tripod is so weird. So I'm like leading straight up. And it just felt like all of those threads that she had ready to build that satisfying relationship for me just really fell flat, and I didn't love it. So yeah, I gave it a 3-star because it's still, I mean, she's still a really good storyteller. She's still a good writer. But this one, I think, is definitely the weakest one of hers that I've ever read. And I actually read To Beguile a Beast first. It was that was my first Elizabeth Hoyt book, and I absolutely loved it. So I had really high expectations for this. And this one was honestly really disappointing for me. And yeah, I'm kind of bummed. I feel like this reading week has not been great. I mean, I've read some things that I liked. I've read other books that I didn't include in this vlog that I did like. But to end the week, to end the month, it's February 28th, with 2 books that I was kind of disappointed about, that's kind of a bummer. So that also made me want, like, it's made me think and reflect on reading these 2 books and talking to some other book people in the community and talking about books that I loved that they didn't, or books that I even just liked that they hated. And it just has made it so aware to me of how our individual life experiences and even individual living experiences in that moment have so much to say about how we rate or how we feel about a book. I feel like it can be very easy to, you know, I mean, all books have flaws, and it's easy for us to point out flaws if we're not captivated by some aspect of that book. Like, if we are not invested in either the plot, the characters, the whatever, if there's something in there that doesn't have us invested, we're going to see every single one of those flaws. It's going to be like a nicked paint job on the wall, you know, like I've got this I have a few, but I've got this one like nicked wall from my dog, my older dog who has since passed away, that I still haven't fixed. I can't bring myself to do it. And every time I walk by that wall, that's all I see is that nick right there. Wow, lighting. And I feel like other people in my house, they don't even notice that, you know, like they do not notice that. People who come to visit, they don't notice that. And I feel like that's how books are. Like, if there's something in there that that just either upsets us, or it's something that is a pet peeve of ours, or there's something in there that just like flips that switch and turns us completely off of the story, all we can see are the flaws, you know? I mean, I will be the first to admit that I love some books that are not perfect at all. but they were perfect for me at that time because it was the reading experience that I needed or that I wanted, you know? So I'm all saying this because I know that I had a lot to say about Spoiler Alert, and I know that that book means a lot to a lot of people, and it does mean a lot to me too. As far as the body positivity, I love that so much, but there were things in that book that I just could not get on board with. And I think that sometimes we base like our friendships or our relationships with people on if we like the same books or not. And we just, like, I don't think we should do that because we're not all going to like the same books ever, you know? Anyway, that is my thoughts for the day. I'm going to end this vlog. It's probably going to be super long. 2 disappointing books. Let's hope for a better vlog next week. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this vlog. Let me know if you have read either of these and your thoughts on them. I am always open to discussion, and I would love to talk to you about it in the comments. I'll see y'all in my next video.